Coming up on the show today, we'll review the first few next-gen tournament matches and the rest of the Autumn Victory and Shinagawa show. We'll preview Autumn Victory in Shinjuku, which has a DDT Ironman Heavymetalweight Championship match on it. Himawari and Shoko Nakajima had a stellar outing in Major League Wrestling. We'll talk all about that. And we're only 1 week away from Additional Attack 2-5. All that and more coming up on the Tokyo Joshi Pod. Stay tuned. All you big children out there, konnichiwa, and welcome to the Tokyo Joshi Pod, your weekly dose for everything TJPW. I'm your host Andy Zyke, and on today's show, we only have one event to review, the Shinagawa show, but that show did have our first few next-gen tournament matches, as well as quite a lot of Ironman Heavymetalweight title shenanigans. We'll talk all about that. We'll also preview this weekend's Shinjuku show, where the next-gen tournament continues on, and the Ironman Heavymetalweight title shenanigans will also continue on as we have a title match for that DDT title. We have a few minor news items to get into, also a really good MLW Featherweight title match that took place over here in the States. Really excited to talk about that one. That one's actually free to watch, so we'll chat about that. But first, just want to say thank you all for listening. I know that the post-Wrestle Princess 6 era is a little bit of a quiet time for TJPW, but I appreciate you tuning in every week, sharing the show, subscribing. We're really close to Additional Attack 2-5. We're only about a week away, and that's shaping up to be a really good Korakuen level show. So we'll talk all about that in the weeks to come. But to get us started today, let's talk a little bit about some of the news and announcements that we got over the past week. There's not too much out there, so this will probably be a bit of an abbreviated segment for this week. But to start off, TJPW Autumn Victory in Takasaki had the first few matches announced. This is going to be held on Sunday, October 19th. This will be Mihiro Kiryu's homecoming show in Gunma. And we have our first match announcement will be a tag team match. Mihiro Kiryu and Suzume will be teaming together to take on the team of Miyu Yamashita and Pam Harajuku. Now this will be taking place after Additional Attack 2-5 and also after the Ironman Heavymetalweight title match between Mihiro and Miyu taking place this weekend, which we'll preview on today's show. I would expect that Mihiro would continue on with the DDT Ironman Heavymetalweight title up until this show on the 19th. She has made it her goal to get to her homecoming show with the DDT Ironman Heavymetalweight title. I would expect some shenanigans in this match. Homecoming shows are always really nice. We most recently had one for Arisu Endo, so looking forward to seeing this show. Some other bits about this show, we have Alice Crowley set to wrestle. Alice Crowley, as we know, coming from America, will be wrestling the day before, the 18th, on the Additional Attack show, taking on Arisu Endo for the International Princess title. So we'll see. I don't suspect Alice Crowley will become the next International Princess title, but it's nice to see her, or Princess Champion, I should say. But it's nice to see her hang around for a little bit. She's actually also going to be on the show this weekend as well. So we'll get our first taste of Alice in just a couple of days. Also on this show in Takasaki, this will be our third of 4 nights for the Next Gen tournament. So come this weekend, we'll have a clearer picture on who is close to the finals and who has been eliminated. So that card is shaping up pretty well. Again, Mihiro's homecoming show on Sunday, the 19th of October, and that show is called TJPW Autumn Victory in Takasaki. Our other announcement this week is that TJPW has announced what their holiday schedule is going to be looking like. They have announced 3 shows in addition to the January 4th Korakuen show, which is also has already been announced. The first holiday show will be taking place on December 21st, called Sei no Merry Christmas 2025. This will be taking place in Tokyo. Then we'll have the final TJPW show of the year taking place on December 27th, TJPW Year-End Party 2025 from the Shinjuku face. Then we'll have the Korakuen show on January 4th, and then I guess technically the second TJPW show, but after that Korakuen show, we'll have a January 10th show, TJPW New Year Party 2026, also taking place from Shinjuku Face. These shows are always a lot of fun. The Say No Merry Christmas show, there's always some sort of like dress up component or something related to the holidays, so that'll be fun to see. The year end show usually has some pretty big preview matches leading into the January 4th Korakuen show, and that, of course, we talked a little bit about this last week. That January 4th Korakuen show usually has some title matches on it. It's always a pretty big card to kick off the year. This past one, we had the Princess of Princess title change hands when Mizuki won, beating Miyu Watanabe. And we did speak about this last week. If you are attending some of these Wrestle Kingdom Week shows, it is totally possible to go to that show on January 4th. I believe it's earlier in the afternoon in Japan, and then also attend Wrestle Kingdom later that day. So if you're heading over to Japan, or if you're not heading over and you just want some wrestling to offset some of your holiday celebrations, TJPW has you covered this year. And that's all the news for the week, so let's go ahead and jump into our show review, TJPW Autumn Victory in Shinagawa. This was technically live streamed on YouTube via an iPad. This was the iPad live streamed event, and it seemed to go pretty well. The one major gripe I would have had was I wish they would have oriented the laptop or the iPad in landscape mode rather than portrait mode. It was facing vertically at the ring, so some of the ring was cut off. But you know what? It's hard to have some gripes when TJPW was doing us a service and providing a live stream of an event that otherwise wouldn't have been live streamed. So kudos to TJPW for providing that for us. Otherwise, this was video on demand on Wrestle Universe. But all that being said, neither here nor there. This show took place on Saturday, October 4th at Club EX at the Shinagawa Prince Hotel in Tokyo. This is basically like a large ballroom within the hotel, like a hall of some sort. And the show overall just a little over 2 hours, so another very palatable show from TJPW. 307 people were in attendance, and TJPW is calling that a super no vacancy, or a sellout in other words. And pretty nice to see. The last time that they were here, TJPW does run this venue quite often. The last time they were here was in June of this year for their spring tour, where they also sold out with 307 in attendance. TJPW is here, I think, like 3 or 4 times a year, and they seem to always do north of 300 people. Maybe that's because for a lot of these shows they have the fan events right afterwards, or maybe it's just because it's an interesting venue within this hall within the hotel. But really great to see that TJPW continues to go to this venue and continues to sell out this venue. The only 2 members of the roster who were not present were Shoko Nakajima and Himawari, who were both wrestling for MLW in Los Angeles on this day. Of course, Moka Miyamoto was also absent as well. No updates yet on Moka's condition. Hopefully we'll get something soon. I know a lot of people are really curious to see what's going on with Moka and when she might be returning. All the best to Moka. Hopefully we hear something soon from her. We opened up with Rise Shirai giving some remarks and the house rules, and then we had the Up Up Girls Song Corner where they sang Love You More. We've had quite a string of Love You More performances now. I think it's probably one of the only songs they've sung in the past 3 or 4 events. It's a pretty good song though. Labyumoto, I've been practicing. Labyumoto, Love You More. Next week, though, when we do get to additional Attack at the Korakuen show, I wonder if they will mix in maybe 2 songs, or maybe they'll return to Upper Kick just to diversify a little bit. But Love You More seems to be the main song that they are pushing right now. And remember, as of last week, there is a digital download for this. If you really enjoy the show or song and want to listen to it, there's also a music video. The music video, I watched it, really fun video. They also have a second YouTube video that they've put up about the making of the music video. All of that is on the Up Up Girls YouTube channel, not the TJPW YouTube channel, but it's worth going to check out and have a watch. We kick things off with 2 next-gen tournament matches, our first 2 tournament matches. First up was Uda Takami taking on Ren Kanatsu. And this match started off pretty high speed. 2 of our younger roster members, 2 of our smaller roster members. I guess it makes sense that we would get some sort of a high speed contest here. Pretty fast paced. At one point, very surprisingly, Uda started to work over Ren's leg. Didn't expect to see limb work from Uda. I didn't have that on my bingo card. No pun intended. I know this is the event where they play bingo afterwards, but overall, a fairly simple match. Uda was in control for most of it, although Ren did have a brief moment of some offense. There was a lot of screaming. Uda's matches seem to come with a lot of screaming, for better or for worse, but all of this screaming led to Uda submitting Ren with the koala clutch at 7 minutes and 25 seconds, handing Ren her first loss of this tournament. Remember, this is a double elimination tournament, so this loss does not eliminate Ren just yet. She would have to lose a second match to be eliminated from the tournament. This is also actually Uda's first singles victory of her career. She's had a few tag team victories, most recently at Grand Princess, also where she submitted Ren Kanatsu with the koala clutch. But Uda's first singles victory of her career. Congratulations to Uda. Obviously, in a tournament like this, where you have some of the younger roster members, or rather, I should say, some of the like rookies and sophomores, the least experienced roster members, we are likely going to get moments like this where we do have our first singles victory, but that doesn't mean we should diminish them. This is huge for Uda to pick up her first singles victory. I wonder if this is a sign of things to come. She seems to be the favorite in this tournament. I actually saw that TJPW ran a poll on Twitter, on X, and Uda came in first place. So pretty interesting. I wonder if we'll see Uda have quite the stretch run. Fingers crossed. Backstage after this match, we did hear from both competitors. Uda promised to win the tournament and become not just the next generation, but the now generation. We also heard from Ren Kanatsu, who compared herself to a typhoon. She was hoping to come into this tournament as a typhoon. She called herself Typhoon Renren, which is a very cute name. She was very disappointed in her loss, though, but she vowed to swallow up Chika next week. Spoiler alert for who loses the next match. Swallow up Chika next week. Typhoon Renren's going to march into next week and get that first victory and avoid elimination. In the next gen tournament match, we saw Kira Summer taking on Chika Nanase. Another fairly straightforward match, although this one was much more power focused, a lot slower paced than the initial match. Kira wins this match at 7 minutes and 56 seconds with a kind of like a side slam maneuver that she's calling the Hazard Hangover. This is a new move, or rather a newly named move from Kira, the Hazard Hangover. This ultimately hands Chika Nanase her first loss, which will match her up with Ren Kanatsu next week, where the loser will be officially eliminated. After this match, Kira tried to extend a hand and say, "Good job, good contest." Chika pushed her away. I wonder if maybe they return to this down the line in this tournament. Maybe we see in the losers bracket another matchup between Chika and Kira. Just postulating, but interesting. We didn't see anything like that in the Uta and Ren match, so kind of had me thinking maybe we'll see some storytelling throughout this whole tournament. After this match, we also heard backstage from both of these competitors. Chika said she wants to come from behind and now win the entire tournament, and Kira is looking forward to a new challenge, taking on Uda Takami one-on-one. This will be the first time that the two of them meet in a singles match, so that'll be really interesting to see. High speed versus more of a power-based offense. Kira is certainly larger than Uda by quite a lot. So we'll see what happens with that match. But looking forward to both of these next matches coming up this weekend. Our third match of the show was a singles contest between Raku and Rika Tatsumi. Raku came out, she didn't have her pillow, which was a little surprising, but she did come out wrapped in this very large blanket. At one point, Rika tried to do the Oyasumi Express, which really upset Raku. Raku gained the upper hand and tried to hit Rika's running elbow drop, which really upset Rika. And so we had a few moments of them going back and forth trying to hit each other's moves. It led to a shoving contest, which eventually led to some choking. Pretty par for the course for a Rika Tatsumi match. Raku, it wouldn't be a match without some trickery from Raku. Raku tries to hide our referee, who was Daisuke Kiso for this match, tried to hide Kiso behind the blanket, as if to, I guess, persuade Rika that it was actually Raku. Raku then runs out of the ring and hides while Kiso is hiding behind this blanket. Essentially gives Rika a jump scare because she did not expect to see Kiso behind the blanket. Raku tried to attack from behind. She hit her Oyasumi Express. All of this really led nowhere, to be honest with you. Eventually, Rika wins the match at 7 minutes and 51 seconds with a missile hip. And then she covered Raku at the end with her blanket. Night night, Raku. Overall, a fun match. Nothing too much to write home about. There won't be any long-term implications with this, but definitely a fun, spirited contest. The one other thing I want to say about this match that I've noticed, Raku is a very loud wrestler, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I always watch matches with Raku or with the Up Up girls, and I always hear a lot of sounds and screaming, and I can never really tell who it is. I've figured out that it's actually Raku. Raku is a very good seller, and we talked about this last week a little bit with the Haruna Neko graduation. Raku is not necessarily the best like between the ropes wrestler, but again, that doesn't mean you are bad at pro wrestling. Raku understands pro wrestling so well. She sells really well. She plays her gimmick really well. She's entertaining as heck, and I don't know, just hearing her emote so much throughout the contest and looking at her facial expressions, she's really, really good at playing that underdog. She can take a beating very well. Things you would only say when you're analyzing professional wrestling. But Raku's a very loud wrestler, and I mean that in the best way possible. I kind of gained an additional appreciation for my Raku matches, if you will. And if those weren't enough shenanigans, we now have a 6-woman tag match. The team of Daisy Monkey and Mihiro Kiryu, the DDT Ironman Heavymetalweight champion, taking on the team of Miyu Yamashita, Kaya Toribami, again, those two continuing to team together, and their partner, Hyper Misao. Misao's team came out first, and Misao had a plan to surprise Mihiro upon her entrance to try to roll her up and win the Ironman Heavymetalweight title, but she only was able to get a 2 count out of it. Misao tried to take the microphone again before the match began, but Mihiro was very, very upset with what went down. Misao actually blamed Mihiro, saying it was her fault for leaving herself vulnerable and open to a pinfall attempt. And as we start off the match, we immediately go into Mihiro's apologizing spot where she apologized for leaving herself open and vulnerable. A very funny moment. The majority of the first part of this match was Mihiro just getting her butt kicked by almost everybody on the other team. Talk about someone who looks really, really good as an underdog and who's very good at selling. Mihiro Kiryu as well. Kaya Toribami looked pretty good in this match. She had a really good back and forth with Arisu Endo. Wouldn't mind seeing an International Princess title challenge from Kaya potentially in the future. It seems that her pairing with Miyu Yamashita might already be paying off. I imagine, obviously within the storyline and the context of the show, they've been wanting to team together more, but as you team together with certain partners and you continue tagging with them and continue working with them, I'm sure you can learn a lot, and there's nobody better to learn more from. I don't know if that's a complete sentence. There's nobody you can learn more from than Miyu Yamashita, who is the de facto leader of TJPW. So I think that some of this is starting to rub off on Kaya. Kaya, not to say that Kaya was ever bad, Kaya always had a lot of potential and she was always really, really good. In particular, a match that stands out to me was her challenge for Shoko Nakajima's MLW Featherweight title. I would love to see Kaya get some additional title matches. Maybe it's a tag team title match with Miyu Yamashita, or maybe it is an International Princess title challenge against Arisu. I'm all for that. For a house show 6-woman tag team match, everybody here looked pretty good. We ended with Miyu Yamashita submitting Mihiro Kiryu at 12 minutes and 11 seconds with the modified Cobra Clutch, which means Miyu got a victory over the current champion. Miyu Yamashita was awarded the DDT Ironman Heavymetalweight belt, and she became the 1,771st champion. She was a little bit surprised. I think she maybe forgot that if you pin the champion, no matter the circumstances, you win the belt. So your new Ironman Heavymetalweight champion here was Miyu Yamashita. After the match was over, Hyper Misao immediately tried to roll her up, but she really couldn't even take her down off her feet. There wasn't even a pinfall out of this. And Miyu gave her a really, really cold as ice stare, which was really funny to see. Mihiro tries to grab the belt back from her. She didn't even try to roll her up. She literally just tried to take the belt back. Mihiro was so sad that she had lost the belt. And Miyu saw this, and she ended up challenging her next week. She said, if you want this belt back so bad, one-on-one title match next week. And Mihiro agreed to this. They shook. As Miyu Yamashita went to leave the ring, Mihiro rolled her up from behind and was able to successfully pin Miyu, take her title back. Mihiro becomes the 1,772nd DDT Ironman Heavy Metalweight champion, who then immediately runs away as she's being chased by Miyu Yamashita. This has been a lot of fun to talk about. This has been a really, really fun kind of secondary storyline outside of the main titles for TJPW. But I do have to admit, saying the phrase DDT Ironman Heavy Metalweight Championship over and over and over again takes such a toll. And then when you also have to tally up the number of winners, oh my goodness, a little bit of a love-hate with this. Backstage, Mihiro was very happy to regain her title belt. She wants to make it her mission to get to her homecoming show on October 19th in Gunma as the champion. However, she was very upset to learn that the match next week with Miyu Yamashita is still happening. She assumed that once she won the belt back, the match would not be taking place. No dice. Miyu is ready to fight her and try to take that belt back. And then if you happen to miss this week's preview that I put up on social media, we had a little bit of debauchery during a signing event as well on a YouTube live stream where it was Mihiro and Himawari, Kira Summer, and then Fumarin was there, and TJPW was very upfront, like, "Hey, there's a signing here with this champion. There's a referee as well? Question mark. What could happen?" Well, sure enough, there were a lot of attempts on that belt. Mihiro lost the belt to her, the piece of paper that lists the names that purchased her autograph. So that piece of paper became the champion, but later on, Mihiro shredded that piece of paper, which I thought was really creative, very funny way to get that belt back. So Mihiro, despite all of the side quests that she's been doing, is still your Ironman Heavy Metalweight champion. That live stream is up on the TJPW YouTube channel if you want to take a look at some of that. And then the Mihiro shredding the paper is up on the TJPW X account if you want to watch that short video. Rounding out this event, we had 3 tag team matches. The first one, Hot Shot, the team of Toga and Yuna Manase, taking on Mifu Ishida and Yuki Arai. We had some really nice double team work from Hot Shot in this match. They seem to be meshing together really, really well. We also saw a surprising amount of offense from Yuki Arai on Yuna Manase. I was a little surprised that Arai got so much offense in. Maybe we'll see a singles match down the line between those two. Ultimately, Toga pins Mifu Ishida at 10 minutes and 29 seconds with the rock bottom. Winners here likely never in doubt. They need to heat up Hot Shot heading into that title match at Additional Attack next week, so it's nice to see them pick up a win. Then we also saw Uber Eats get a little bit of a warm-up match for their title defense. Uber Eats took on the team of Mizuki and Pam Harajuku. Pam seems to have dyed her hair. It is now very, very auburn in color. She really looks, with the gear that she wears, she really looks like Raggedy Ann. If you're familiar with the Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls, she looks a lot like Raggedy Ann. This match had a fair amount of silliness, of course, fake handshakes. Kamiyu accidentally poked Wakana in the eyes, which led to a funny miscommunication spot between the Uber Eats teammates. For a tag team match on a house show, all 4 of these women looked really good. Uber Eats is really starting to look on the same page. They're starting to look a little crisper. Besides the opening, the bit where she got poked in the eyes, that's obviously just a part of the story, though. That's no actual miscommunication. But they're starting to look pretty good as they march towards their first title defense. Towards the end of the match, Pam and Mizuki have a little bit of miscommunication on their own. They end up hitting each other with Pam's shoes, which leads to Yuki Kamifuku pinning Pam with a famouser at 9 minutes and 28 seconds. And after the match, Mizuki is really, really frustrated and throws Pam's shoe like into another dimension. That thing went flying through the venue. I think Mizuki felt that she launched it maybe a little bit too far. She was a little embarrassed, but she skedaddled with Pam pretty quickly after that. And then in your main event, another tag team match, the team of Yuki Aino and Haru Kazushiro taking on the team of Miyu Watanabe and Shino Suzuki. This is our second preview match for the Princess of Princess title. Remember that Miyu Watanabe won the first match last week. Miyu and Yuki start us off, and they waste zero time going at it, but this is a real brief affair. They quickly tag out. We get Shino coming into the ring. I have to say that Shino's, I don't know what she calls it, but the spot where she does like her tour guide gimmick across and it, like introduces her opponent to all four of the turnbuckles. So funny, so well done with her character. For those of you that are unaware, Shino is a former tour guide before becoming a professional wrestler. So I love that turnbuckle tour guide spot. That's what we'll call it. We end up getting two more pairings between Miyu and Yuki, but they barely hit any moves against each other. They were really teasing the encounter. They did a great job teasing what's to come in these like brief 3 to 5 minute segments. They didn't want to give it all away, of course. We do get multiple backbreakers from Miyu. We actually get a giant swing as well, which I was a little bit surprised to see in the preview match. I thought if anything, maybe we'd get that in our final preview match this weekend, but we did get the giant swing as well. They fought outside of the ring where really neither woman wanted to give in. They were hitting each other with shoulder tackles, with forearms, with lariats. Aino at one point hits a twisting senton from the apron to the outside. Yeah, they've really ramped up the intensity in this match. I'm really curious to see what happens this weekend where they meet in the third preview match. And then, of course, obviously really curious to see what's happening at Additional Attack when they match up. But my goodness, I'm getting really, really, really excited for this coming up. It really in just about a week here. This match is ultimately won by Yuki Aino, who pins Shino Suzuki with the Venus DDT at 7 minutes and 3 seconds. Quite a long main event match for a house show, so that was nice to see. We are now tied at 1 apiece in our preview matches for this Princess of Princess title bout. Yuki has pinned Shino one time, and then I believe Miyu pinned Kira Summer last week. So neither competitor has taken a pinfall from the other, but they do have a victory against each other in the preview matches. And actually, after the match, Yuki Aino brags that she's won 2 of the preview matches because she is counting the thumb war that they had at the press conference. So technically, I guess, sure, Yuki Aino is up 2-1. Depends on if you want to count the thumb war or not. Backstage, Miyu was a little bit upset that she lost in the preview match, but she did challenge Shino Suzuki to a thumb wrestling contest, and she beat her, so she was able to get her confidence back. Thumb wars seem to be the big thing for this the lead up to this match. It's very funny, and it's leaning really well into like the whole monster. We want to have as many preview matches as possible. I kind of hope that they don't do like a spot during the Additional Attack match where they do a thumb war. I think that might be a little bit hokey. I'd like to just see like a really slug it out, hard hitting affair between these two because we're really building to that, but we'll see what we get. Additional Attack's only a week away. We only have one more preview match between these two. And then after this event, later in the evening, TJPW did hold their autumn fan meeting. There is like a write-up about this on the TJPW website. There's no video yet. I do hope we maybe get a digest video. They've done a few digest videos on YouTube in the past, so hopefully we'll get something like that. But according to the write-up that was provided on the TJPW website, they played a variety of different party games, karaoke at one point. They gave away like an MVP award for the evening, which was won by Mihiro Kiryu. Apparently she did an excellent rendition of some sort of karaoke song. And she ended up winning a cash prize. And then all of the wrestlers also received a set of bath salts from the sponsor of the event as well. So seems like it was a nice event. I hope we get that digest video at some point. Looking ahead to this weekend, we have one event coming up. It's actually taking place on Sunday, not on Saturday. TJPW has been running Saturdays for the last, say, 4 to 5 weeks or so, maybe more. But this event will be taking place on Sunday, October 12th at Shinjuku Face. It's called TJPW Autumn Victory in Shinjuku Volume 1. And I believe it's Volume 1 because they're going to be returning to Shinjuku Face like the first week of November or something like that. So there will be a Volume 2. That's why they're differentiating. This will be live on Wrestle Universe, and it's actually going to be taking place in Japan time fairly early. It's like 11 in the morning in Japan. So for us over here in the States, it's going to be pretty early evening, I would say. So maybe about like, I think it's about 10 p.m. if you live on the East Coast and 7 p.m. if you live on the West Coast. So probably be able to watch this one live and get to bed at a decent hour. The only person who will be absent from this show will be Kaya Toribami. She will be wrestling in Dallas this weekend. I believe she's wrestling on the 10th of October. So I imagine she just won't make it back to Japan in time to have a match here. But we do have quite a set of matches. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total matches on this show. Probably the biggest one will be the DDT Ironman Heavymetalweight title between Mihiro Kiryu and Miyu Yamashita. Again, remember Mihiro is trying to make it to Gunma on the 19th for her homecoming show, so she has a week to go and quite a high mountain to climb here in a singles contest with the leader of the roster, Miyu Yamashita. I'm really looking forward to seeing what kind of silliness we get out of this. I have to imagine something crazy is going to happen. Maybe even Miyu wins the belt and Mihiro has to find a way to get it back before Gunma. I could see that happening too, but this will be a lot of fun. We'll also get the next 2 matches in our next gen tournament. So the losers match, which will have Chika Nanase taking on Ren Kanatsu. Basically have to win or you're going home. I would think that Chika wins this. In my preview for this last week, if you remember, Ren is probably the hardest person to make a case for in this tournament. Unless TJPW really wants to spread the love and give everybody at least one victory, I would think that Chika wins this. In the next match, the winners match, we have Uda Takami taking on Kira Summer. This is going to be a really, really good match, and I could see this going either way, honestly. I'm going to pick Uda just because Uda's kind of my pick to win the whole thing, so I'm going to put my money behind Uda Takami, but really I don't think you can go wrong, and I can see them going either way here with Uda or Kira winning that winners match. We'll get a tag team match between the team of Rika Tatsumi and Mifu Ishida, taking on the team of Himawari and Shino Suzuki. We'll also get a 6-woman tag team match, the team of Mizuki, Suzume, and Yuki Arai, taking on the team of Hyper Misao, Raku, and Palm Harajuku. I imagine we'll get some shenanigans there. Quite the team of Raku Palm and Hyper Misao. And then we have 2 preview matches. We'll have a tag team match between the team of Arisu Endo and Haru Kazushiro, taking on the team of Shoko Nakajima and Alice Crowley. Alice Crowley will be coming to Japan, but a week before her International Princess title match with Arisu. We'll get our first International Princess preview match here for Additional Attack. This will be our only preview match, and apparently it is Alice's first time in Japan. I don't know if that means first time ever or first time wrestling, but I'm curious to see. I don't know too much about Alice Crowley. Big Al, she goes by. I'm curious to see what she's all about, get a taste of Big Al and Arisu here as we head into our Battle of the Alices at Additional Attack 2-5. I'm looking forward to that one. And then to round us out, our other preview match, a 6-woman tag between the team of Miyu Watanabe and Ober Eats, Wakana Uehara, and Yuki Kamifuku, taking on the team of Yuki Aino and Hotshot, Yuna Manase and Toga. So this is that like ultimate preview match that TJPW likes to do right before their major shows. So this will be our first Princess Tag Team preview match. Remember, we were supposed to get one a few weeks back, but Toga fell ill and had to pull out of that match. So our first preview for the tag team match, and then our third Princess of Princess preview match. In my book, they are tied 1 apiece, but if you are counting the thumb war, Yuki Aino technically has the 2-1 advantage. But this card is shaping up to be a pretty solid card for a house show. So Sunday, October 12th, look for it on Wrestle Universe streaming live. And with our news, reviews, and previews out of the way, let's talk about some of our graduates, and let's talk about that excursion that Shoko and Himawari had in MLW. That was a really good one. But let's start with our graduates. Yuka Sakazaki had another match on the October 2nd edition of Ring of Honor Honor Club, another Pure Rules match for Yuka Sakazaki. She took on someone named Zoe Lin. I got a better listen on Yuka's new theme song, and I don't love it, I have to admit. It's kind of like a dubstep version of her old theme song. Maybe she picked it out, and if she wanted it, great. More power to her, whatever makes her happy. Who am I to judge? But I prefer call me old school, but I prefer the classic compared to this souped up dubstep version. But Yuka won this match with the magical merry-go-round at 4 minutes and 23 seconds, so quite a short match. It was fine. They hardly had any time to really get anything going, but it is really nice to see Yuka wrestling almost on a weekly basis, even if it is on Ring of Honor and not on AEW. It's nice to see her getting some reps and getting some TV time. There's still no word yet on her tournament match. She's supposed to be in the Women's Pure Championship tournament. She's supposed to face off against Serena Deeb. No date set for that yet. We've been waiting for that for quite a while. They did have a little bit of a face-off though at this match. At this event, Serena Deeb also had a match, and Yuka came out afterwards. They kind of looked at each other, shook each other's hands. So maybe in the coming weeks we'll get that match. I think that'll be really good. But it's nice to see Yuka getting some reps, doing some Pure Rules matches in the lead up to that tournament. We'll keep you updated once AEW does announce, or I guess Ring of Honor technically does announce when that Yuka Sakazaki and Serena Deeb match will take place. And then the other graduate to touch on today, Unagi Sayaka. Unagi challenged for the Diana tag titles with Haruna Umasaki on the October 5th Diana show. They did lose in their challenge, but typically what happens is, oh gosh, there's a YouTube channel that will put up digests of the Diana shows. Usually if you search like Diana wrestling, or you search the competitors of the match, it'll pop up, but you usually be able to watch that. I believe that Diana also has some sort of a streaming service, something like that. I'm not too familiar with it, but ultimately a loss for Unagi, so maybe you want to check it out, maybe you don't. However, a match that I highly, highly recommend you seek out is at the MLW Slaughterhouse event, which took place on Saturday, October 4th from Los Angeles, where we had an MLW Featherweight title match between the champion, Shoko Nakajima, taking on the challenger, Himawari. And because this is an MLW show, MLW puts all of their shows up on YouTube for free. So you can head on over to the MLW YouTube channel. You can watch this one. You can watch all of Shoko Nakajima's previous title defenses. The match where she won the title back in, I want to say April-ish. It was Battle Riot was the name of the show. And then MLW also had the singles contest over the summer between Yuki Kamifuku and Wakana Uehara. So there's a lot of accessible TJPW matches if you really want to seek them out on the MLW YouTube channel, all free. I mentioned this in the last MLW match that we covered, but I really like the entrances that MLW gives some of the Tej girls. Himawari came out. She had two women on both sides of her. They were showering her with sunflowers. Shoko Nakajima got a really nice intro video, something I haven't seen before. And then of course she has the cityscape that she comes out and just destroys, as she is the big kaiju. So really, really fun stuff. MLW is also promoting a Shoko Nakajima t-shirt, which is actually pretty interesting. I think they use Pro Wrestling Tees as their website. So if you're in the market for some TJPW merchandise, but you have trouble, say, buying it in Japan, or waiting until some of the wrestlers come to America, buying it from them, you can buy it's MLW branded, of course, but it is a Shoko Nakajima t-shirt from MLW. So if you want a quick hack to get a TJPW adjacent merchandise or t-shirt, check out that Shoko Nakajima t-shirt. These two were fairly evenly matched to start out. Shoko took control for a little bit with some nice offense. She was really utilizing her high speed, stringing together some nice moves with a lot of fluidity. Himawari was counterattacking with a lot of her hair whips, and some of these sounded really gnarly. You could really hear the snap that her braids made as she was whipping Shoko Nakajima with them. They went back and forth, the high-speed offense being countered by the hair braids for quite a bit. That was the main construct of the match. Himawari just would not die, though. She continued to abuse Shoko Nakajima with those hair whips. At one point, they ended up fighting on the outside of the ring, which I thought was really interesting because we don't always see that from TJPW. I know we just talked about a match where Miyu and Yuki Aino fought on the outside of the ring, but it's actually quite rare. Usually when the wrestlers head outside of the ring, it's more comedy driven. It's when like Palm Harajuku tries to run and hide or something like that. So it's really cool to see them take advantage of fighting outside of the ring, something that maybe the American crowds are a little bit more accustomed to. There was a really nasty side slam that Himawari hit on Shoko Nakajima outside of the ring. There was also a really nice spot where Shoko hit a 619 to the back of Himawari's head, leading to a suicide dive to the outside. So some really creative and fun spots. These two women came really ready to fight in this match. The crowd was also really into it. We got a "This is awesome" chant, which was kind of cool to see. Himawari countered the Northern Lights suplex into a really, really good near fall. I didn't expect Himawari to come into this and win the MLW Featherweight title, but I also have to admit that that near fall spot really, really got me. Shoko did ultimately win this match and retain her MLW Featherweight title with a top rope senton at 12 minutes and 22 seconds. Actually, the longest match of the entire show. Both of these ladies worked exceptionally hard. They really got the crowd behind them towards the end of the match. If you were there as a fan of both of these wrestlers, you really got your money's worth. And if you had no idea who they were, you came out of this match definitely interested in watching more of them. It was that kind of match. Again, completely free on YouTube, depending on your preferences, and you're listening to a TJPW podcast, so I can imagine what your preferences are. You might think this is the best match on that Slaughterhouse show. I certainly did. There were some other interesting matches from some former WWE talent, some former independent and TNA talent. All in all, it's not a bad show. It's a little bit silly. MLW kind of leans more into the like TNA of the early 2000s vibes at times, but this was certainly a really good match. I highly, highly encourage you to go out of your way and at least just watch this MLW Featherweight title match. And then the final thing I'll mention, we do have Kaya Toribami on excursion this weekend. She's wrestling in Dallas for a company called VIP Wrestling on the 10th of October. I don't know if this is going to be streamed or not. I'll have to do some research. Perhaps we can talk about this match next week. She's facing off in a three-way match with Vert Vixen and Maya World for the VIP Women's Championship. So cool to see Kaya head overseas. She hasn't been overseas in a little bit. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll have to seek that one out and we'll talk about it next week. And with that, get your cold spray and your ice packs out because that brings us to the end of this episode of the Tokyo Joshi Pod. A little bit of a shorter episode this week. Next week, we'll review the Shinjuku show. I'm sure we'll have a lot more to come with the Ironman Heavymetalweight Championship. We'll preview Additional Attack 2-5 and TJPW Autumn Victory in Takasaki. Yes, that's right. 2 shows next weekend, one of which is going to be a huge Cork and Hall card. I hope you've enjoyed the show today. If you did, you can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss out on any future episodes. You can follow us at Tokyo Joshi Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and X. If you want to email the show, you can do that, tokyojoshipod@gmail.com. But above all else, remember to keep your hearts burning, stay magical, my friends, and we'll see you next week on the Tokyo Joshi Pod.